The Śūraṅgama Sutra, Volume 2, 12. The king heard these words, believed them, and realized that when the life of this body is finished, there will be rebirth. He and the entire great assembly were greatly delighted at having obtained what they never had before. Ananda then arose from his seat, made obeisance to the Buddha, put his palms together, knelt on both knees, and said to the Buddha, "Bhagavan, if this seeing and hearing are indeed neither produced nor extinguished, why did Bhagavan refer to us people as having lost our true natures and as going about things in an upside-down way? I hope that Bhagavan will give rise to great compassion and wash my dust and defilement away." Then the Tathagata let his golden-coloured arm fall, so his webbed fingers pointed downward, and demonstrating this to Ananda, said, "You see the position of my hand. Is it right side up or upside down?" Ananda said, "Beings in the world take it to be upside down. I myself do not know what is right side up and what is upside down." The Buddha said to Ananda, "If people of the world take this as upside down, what do people of the world take to be right side up?" Ananda said, "They call it right side up when the Tathagata raises his arm, with the fingers of his cotton-soft hand pointing up in the air." The Buddha then held up his hand and said, "And so for it to be upside down would be for it to be just the opposite of this. Or at least that's how people of the world would regard it. In the same way, they will differentiate between your body and the Tathagata's pure Dharma body, and will say that the Tathagata's body is one of right and universal knowledge, while your body is upside down. But examine your body and the Buddha's closely for this upside-downness. What exactly does the term upside down refer to?" Thereupon Ananda and the entire great assembly were dazed and stared unblinkingly at the Buddha. They did not know in what way their bodies and minds were upside down. The Buddha's compassion arose as he empathized with Ananda and all in the great assembly, and he spoke to the great assembly in a voice that swept over them like the ocean tide. "All of you good people, I have often said that all conditions that bring about forms and the mind, as well as dharmas pertaining to the mind, and all the conditioned dharmas, are manifestations of the mind only. Your bodies and your minds all appear within the wonder of the bright, true, essential, magnificent mind. Why do I say that you have lost track of what is fundamentally wonderful, the perfect, wonderful, bright mind, and that in the midst of your gem-like bright and wonderful nature, you wallow in confusion while being right within enlightenment? Mental dimness turns into emptiness. This emptiness in the dimness unites with darkness to become form. Form mixes with false thinking, and the thoughts take shape and become the body. As causal conditions come together, there are perpetual internal disturbances which tend to gallop outside. Such inner turmoil is often mistaken for the nature of the mind. Once that is mistaken to be the mind, a further delusion determines that it is located in the physical body. You do not know that the physical body, as well as the mountains, the rivers, empty space, and the great earth, are all within the wonderful, bright, true mind. Such a delusion is like ignoring hundreds of thousands of clear, pure seas and taking notice of only a single bubble, seeing it as the entire ocean, as the whole expanse of the great and small seas. You people are doubly deluded among the deluded. Such delusion does not differ from that caused by my lowered hand. The Tathagata says, "You are pathetic." Having received the Buddha's compassionate rescue and profound instruction, Ananda wept, folded his hands, and said to the Buddha, I have heard these wonderful sounds of the Buddha, and have awakened to the primal perfection of the wonderful bright mind as being the eternally dwelling mind ground. But now, in awakening to the Dharma sounds that the Buddha is speaking, I know that I have been using my conditioned mind to regard and revere them. Having just become aware of that mind, I dare yet claim to recognize that fundamental mind ground. I pray that the Buddha will be compassionate, and with his perfect voice explain to us in order to pull our doubts out by the roots and enable us to return to the unsurpassed way. The Buddha told Ananda, You and others like you still listen to the Dharma with the conditioned mind, and so the Dharma becomes conditioned as well, and you do not obtain the Dharma nature. This is similar to a person pointing his finger at the moon to show it to someone else. Guided by the finger, the other person should see the moon. If he looks at the finger instead and mistakes it for the moon, he loses not only the moon, but the finger also. Why? Because he mistakes the pointing finger for the bright moon. Not only does he lose the finger, but he also fails to recognize light and darkness. Why? He mistakes the solid matter of the finger for the bright nature of the moon, and so he does not understand the two natures of light and darkness. The same is true of you. If you take what distinguishes the sound of my speaking Dharma to be your mind, then that mind itself, apart from the sound which is distinguished, should have a nature which makes distinctions. Take the example of the guest who lodged overnight at an inn. He stopped temporarily and then went on. He did not dwell there permanently, whereas the innkeeper did not go anywhere, since he was the host of the inn. The same applies here. If it were truly your mind, it would not go anywhere. And so why, in the absence of sound, does it have no discriminating nature of its own? This then applies not only to the distinguishing of sound, but in distinguishing my appearance. That mind has no distinction-making nature apart from the attributes of form. This is true even when the making of distinctions is totally absent, when there is no form and no emptiness, or in the obscurity which Goshali and others take to be the profound truth. That mind still does not have a distinction-making nature in the absence of causal conditions.